Right now, you're wearing something, a shirt, a jacket, socks. You didn't think twice about putting them on this morning. You never do. But somewhere between putting on your shoes and walking out the door, you performed an act your ancestors invented under threat of death. Clothing wasn't always normal. For most of human history, it didn't exist at all. And the real reason your ancestors started wearing it is far stranger than it got cold outside. Picture the first humans in Africa. Warm climate, no fur like other mammals, just skin, sweat glands, and bare, exposed bodies built for one thing: long-distance endurance, running in the heat. That body worked perfectly for hundreds of thousands of years. Then some of those humans started walking north, out of Africa, into places that got cold, genuinely, dangerously cold, and their bodies did not adapt fast enough. Evolution is slow, winters are fast. So how did a species built for the African savanna survive an ice age with nothing but skin? The answer sits in an unlikely place: lice. In 2003, a team led by biologist Mark Stoneking studied something almost nobody thinks about: the genetic history of human body lice. Head lice have existed as long as humans have had hair, but body lice are different. They live in clothing, not on skin. They need fabric folds to survive, which means body lice couldn't have existed before humans wore clothes. By comparing the DNA of body lice to head lice, Stoneking's team calculated when the two species split apart. The number that came back was staggering. Somewhere around 170,000 years ago, give or take, humans started wearing something on their bodies regularly enough for a brand new species of insect to evolve around it. Let that sit for a second. An insect adapted its entire body plan around your ancestors' decision to cover themselves. So clothing is old, older than agriculture, older than pottery, older than almost anything else you'd call a human invention. But why then? What changed? This is where the story gets colder, literally. Around that same window of time, the planet was sliding into a series of brutal glacial periods. Temperatures in parts of Europe and Asia dropped low enough to kill an unprotected human in hours. Anthropologist Ian Gilligan has spent years studying this connection, and his research points to something surprising. Clothing wasn't invented gradually as a slow cultural trend. It was invented urgently as survival technology, the same way you'd invent a fire alarm the week after your house almost burned down. Gilligan's work suggests early clothing wasn't fashion. It wasn't about covering the body out of modesty. Modesty came much later, layered on top of a much older need. The first clothing was functional: animal hides, wrapped and tied, worn purely to trap body heat. No stitching, no shaping, just survival wrapped around a shivering frame. But here's the twist nobody expects. Neanderthals lived in Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years before modern humans arrived. They dealt with the exact same brutal cold. And yet, the archaeological evidence for tailored, fitted clothing among Neanderthals is remarkably thin. Why would that be? Neanderthals were strong, stocky, built with more muscle mass and shorter limbs, a body shape that actually retains heat more efficiently than the lean frame modern humans inherited from their African ancestors. In other words, Neanderthals may have partly outmuscled the cold using biology. Modern humans with thinner, heat-losing bodies built for a warm continent had no such advantage. They needed a workaround, and that workaround was clothing. This is the part that reframes everything. Clothing may not be a symbol of human intelligence in the way people assume. It might be a symbol of human vulnerability. You didn't invent clothes because you were smarter than the cold. You invented clothes because your body simply couldn't survive without them. Which raises a question. If clothing started as pure survival, when did it become something else? Archaeologist Olga Soffer found part of the answer buried in clay. Studying Ice Age figurines from sites across Central Europe, she noticed something strange pressed into the surface of several statuettes, dated to roughly 27,000 years ago. Tiny impressions, patterns, not random, woven. They were the fossilized imprints of textiles, actual fabric, twisted and looped thousands of years before anyone thought weaving existed. Soffer's analysis suggested Ice Age humans weren't just wrapping themselves in stiff animal hides anymore. They were producing string, cord, and woven material, technology advancing quietly, stitch by stitch, long before anyone wrote anything down. And once clothing existed as technology, it didn't stay purely functional for long. Different groups started wearing different things, different colors, different patterns, different ways of tying a hide across the shoulder. Clothing stopped being only about keeping warm. It started being about who you were were and which group you belong to. Think about what that means. The moment humans could choose what to wear instead of simply needing to wear something, clothing became a language. It could say, I belong to this group, not that one. It could say, I am a hunter, a leader, someone worth noticing. That's the same impulse sitting in your closet right now. You don't need 7 different jackets to survive winter. One would do the job, but you have 7 because somewhere underneath the practical reason, the old signaling reason never went away. Every outfit you choose sends a message before you say a single word. Here's where it gets even stranger. Once early humans depended on clothing to survive, their bodies stopped needing to solve the cold problem on their own. Fur-covered skin, thick hide, dense body hair, all the biological solutions other cold climate animals evolved became unnecessary. Humans had already solved the problem externally, so evolution simply stopped optimizing that particular trait. In a sense, clothing didn't just protect the human body, it replaced part of its evolution. You are, quite literally, wearing the adaptation your ancestors' bodies never had to grow, and this pattern didn't end in the Ice Age. It just kept going. Wool, cotton, synthetic fiber, central heating, built into buildings so effective that you could theoretically survive a blizzard wearing almost nothing indoors. Each layer of technology sits on top of the last, all the way back to a hide wrapped around cold shoulders 170,000 years ago. So the next time you grab a jacket without thinking, notice what's actually happening. You're not performing a modern convenience. You're repeating the single oldest survival decision your species ever made. Before agriculture, before language as we know it, before almost anything you'd call civilization, someone somewhere wrapped an animal hide around their freezing body and decided that surviving the cold mattered more than facing it bare. You've been wearing that decision every single day since. Right now, you're wearing something, and now you know exactly why.